Ah, we're back. Want to say first, thank you, Patreons. Another great month. We're definitely growing at a rate that is quite unique. A lot of bugs we had to get out this month in the system. So I want to say thank you again. The Rick James video will be out tomorrow. If you're watching this later, there's a Patreon only Rick James video that's coming out. If this is on regular YouTube, you need to get to the Carcino for Life Patreon in order to see this material. Depending on which tier you're in, you'll be able to watch the content. It'll tell you when you go in there and basically thumb around. If I was you, I would just be VIP because then you have access to everything. But that's just me. Now, for the Patreons, let's get into it. I got your questions about boxing. And you said, we need to talk some boxing on the Patreon. When you going to do a live stream for us over here? I said, all right, bet. You wanted to talk about Tyson Fury. So 4 of you wanted to talk about the heavyweight aspect of boxing. Well, here it is. Unfortunately for Tyson Fury, he's a man fighting in a league that is dead. Deeeead. The heavyweight division doesn't really exist, except for in the European countries where they don't really play basketball or there's no professional football. Their professional football is soccer. So they really have boxing and that's it. So for them, this is the end all be all of sports. They love boxing. So the heavyweights here, they're going to play NBA and NFL. They're not going to worry about getting in the ring to get their head scrambled unless they blew out their knee in college. So you're going to have a bunch of people who grew up not being heavyweight fighters, period. So to make money being a heavyweight boxer is quite difficult. Deontay Wilder, the reason why he ascended and brought the heavyweight division back is because he had an eraser. That eraser was something else, his God-given talent. He went from trying to make enough money to feed his daughter and take care of her and get her through all her surgeries and everything else to making like over $70 million in the ring. That's impressive. Now, as far as the boxing aspect, who can beat Tyson Fury? None of these guys. None of these guys out here. Anthony Joshua, I told y'all they made that fight, he was going to lose. They told him to just step aside, don't take the Usyk fight, go right into a fight with Tyson Fury. Don't do it. He should have stepped aside that fight. He was like, nah, he could beat Usyk. Usyk is hittable. He's smaller. No way Anthony Joshua should lose that fight. He lost that fight because he could not figure out Usyk's style, his timing, and got basically exposed. Can Usyk beat Tyson Fury? No. Too small. Tyson Fury will smother him, use his size, and use his boxing ability. What gives Tyson Fury the advantage? Height, weight. He's a full 280 when he's in there. By the time fight night, he's probably like almost 300 pounds. But you've never seen somebody 300 pounds, that agile, uses his aim, can box at angles, slip punches, long reach. That's a nightmare. And anybody who's hitting you that hard, that's a big man hitting you. Whether you think he got knockout power or not, that's a guy who's hitting you accurately with big punches. Poof, poof. You're going to feel those shots. When he jab you, he's going to put his whole weight behind it. Poof. That's what he started doing in the first Deontay Wilder fight. He was just making contact, staying on the outside, which is perfect for Wilder. But when you step to Wilder, and which he did when he switched trainers and went with Sugar Ray, is he stepped to Wilder. And by stepping to Wilder, that put him on the back foot. Wilder had to get on his back foot and couldn't really load up and get the leverage on the power he needed. Wilder's defense was not where it needed to be beat a Tyson Fury. The excuses was terrible and it was holding him back. But more than that, it was Derek Chisora. If Derek Chisora shows his head up in a heavyweight fight, are you kidding me? Why do y'all keep holding on to this Derek Chisora journey? What did this guy do? Who did he beat up? I want to know. Somebody got to tell me. Derek Chisora? We still talking about that guy? That should have been dead and gone by now. Derek Chisora. People, we got to learn to move on. We do. We got to learn to move on because Derek Chisora, that's insulting to me. It is. It's like literally insulting to me that somebody mentioned Derek Chisora. I don't think about it, to be honest. Derek Chisora is the Ricardo Mayorga of the heavyweight division. He's going to give you a great promotion. He's going to get in the ring, and he's going to get beat up. So he becomes a guy that you can make a lot of money off of by boosting up your other fighters. And he can box decently. It's just he's not going to win the fight. I just don't know how you keep getting pay-per-views. It's just like, if that's all you got to do to sell the fight, you don't even have to beat anybody anymore. It was 4 to 5 people that showed up and decided that the avenue they wanted to take would be one to eradicate and try to take out anything positive about the other person. I've always had a problem with that. Robert Benjamin was the trainer? I don't think so. See, what makes it so interesting, Patreons, is the fact that when you see all of these great people that come out to support the boxing events in the UK, they really love boxing. Like they come all the way out to the fights. Here, they do it sometimes, but we like the promotion, the show. And they don't really understand. The women mostly just like the entertainment. They get to dress up. There's going to be cameras. There's going to be celebrities. So that's the narrative. If Mike Tyson fought Tyson Fury, who would win? It's a difficult fight. Tyson had always had problems with bigger fighters. That is a massive, massive difference. He wouldn't knock out Tyson Fury. is early activity, depending on which Tyson showed up. Like if we got Tyson in his peak, we might have got a decision out of it. Maybe he could have got a decision, and Tyson lunging shots up there would have probably got something. But I don't think Mike Tyson can beat him with his size. I don't. Mike could have got to his body and did, but he's not stiff. He's got movement, and he would have tied Mike up. It'd have been an ugly fight. He'd have hit Mike a couple times, so the fight was going late. So I just can't. I don't know. I would Lennox Lewis. That would have been a great fight to see. But Tyson Fury would beat Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis had a great right hand. Jab, not so much. His jab was mostly him walking around, pawing, trying to land the right uppercut, smother you and throw uppercuts. But the right hand of Lennox, that was it. That was his thing. Big right hand. That's why him and Emmanuel Stewart worked out tremendously, because he wanted him to throw the big right hand. Lennox wasn't as flexible as he didn't grow up with the Engel style. So waist movement and flexibility and ducking, slipping shots, that wasn't really Lennox's game. He would have pulled Lennox and kept pulling him, and he would have controlled him with the jab, the movements, pop, slicking him. Bad fight for Lennox Lewis. He loses. A guy that would have beat him, Riddick Big Daddy Bo. Riddick Big Daddy Bo is the only person I could think of right now from the past, not going into the Ali era. Riddick Big Daddy Bo, I see him probably knocking out Tyson Fury. That's the only person I felt would have got him. Riddick Big Daddy Bo. Riddick Bo would have got it. Why? Because Riddick would box you. He was a big guy, but Riddick was gonna bring it. That was the thing about him. Riddick had that country strong power. And he had some quick hands before he started taking way too many shots, and them shots took a toll on him. The only loss in his career is on fan night. When Fan Man come flying into the ring, which should have been a no contest. It was right when Riddick was coming on too. Fan Man comes into the ring, and they have this big delay, and it helped Holyfield out tremendously. And it's basically they had to cool down, everybody cool down, and then had to restart all over again and take over, start from that round. And it was right when Riddick was coming on. So it was terrible timing for Riddick, and it cost him his belt. Well, when they start cracking down on performance enhancing drugs, all of a sudden, Evander Holyfield, he went from the dominant guy to the guy that was on the back burner. So, do I believe he took steroids? Hell yeah, he took steroids. You went from a guy who was getting wobbled in fights and at lightweight, and then all of a sudden you getting hit with heavyweights. You got trapped muscles all the way up here. I ain't gonna say Deal ain't work hard. Deal worked his butt off, but you ain't finna tell me Deal wasn't taking roids. That ain't finna happen. Ali would have beat him. Yeah, yeah. Ali versus Tyson Fury. Um, I see Ali winning the decision. Close fight. Big Georgia had problems with Tyson Fury. Big George will probably get knocked out. If you talking about not George of the 2000s or the 90s George, but the early 70s George, that guy gets knocked out by Tyson Fury. The younger he was, the more susceptible he was to being knocked out. The older he got, you couldn't knock that George out. You can hit him with anything. That George was protecting himself. But he couldn't counterpunch. That was the thing about George. He couldn't counterpunch. He had good offense going forward, but counterpunching was out. His defense was this: duck his chin every time you punch. If a guy gonna do that, he ain't counterpunching. He just make a shield when it turn into a turtle shell. That's because George want to get you out of there with his offense. He ain't gonna try to counterpunch you. His jab is this: poof, stiff and hard as a brick. He was like one big power brick to get through. Like Holyfield said, that was the hardest I ever been hit in my life. Like my teeth was rattling. He hit me in the chin one time. Poof, poof, poof. My chin was rattling. Like that dude, his power is unreal. That dude is a mess. Absolutely. We gotta definitely control the ring. He definitely controls the ring. Um, Joe Frazier beating Tyson Fury. I can't see it. It's hard for me to see that. The size, the size difference. Versatile big man like that. Mm, a heavyweight nobody know, nobody heard of that would probably be that guy Ike Abuache, the one that got locked up. That might be the guy to get him. Ike would have got him probably. Ike would have caught him with a right hand or something. Boom! He had quick hands to be that big, and he had power, and he was quick, quick shots. And he ended up getting locked up, and that was his career. Chris Bird wasn't active enough. He was slick, but wasn't enough activity coming from him. The Tony Tucker era. Jersey Joe Walcott. Jersey Joe would have gave him a good scrap, but I think he would have got Jersey Joe late in the rounds, like taking over the fight with the jab, right hand, but early on it would have been dangerous for Fury. For the first 5, 6 rounds, it's dangerous. Jersey Joe would have been on him. Raging Bull Jake LaMotta, nah. Jake LaMotta would have. Jake would have. No, wrong division. Rocky Marciano, right? The other one, Rocky Marciano. Okay, uh, Rocky Marciano. uh, he would have got Tyson Fury. Rocky Marciano would have got knocked out with Tyson Fury. Too big, too versatile, too much movement. Rocky been coming in with that slow stick, right, uppercut, boof. 1, 2, 3. Now he would have got back up, but he just took a pounding. That dude was too big. He'd have laid on him. Hell no. And it's not like I'm saying Tyson Fury's the boogeyman. I'm just saying stylistically, it's hard to beat him. He never fought Vitaly Klitschko. He wouldn't have beat Vitaly. Vitaly Klitschko, that would have been a good matchup. I think it went to decision, and I think Tyson Fury would have won by decision. Vitaly is too aggressive for his own good, and sure, when he don't even see nothing, he just throws, and he can get caught easy, and that's cuts, everything. I think he get caught on cuts, right hand over the top, headlock, smothering, uppercut, dirty boxing. He ain't ready for that. He ain't ready to be on his back foot. So yeah, he'd have been in trouble. So anyway, if you know any other names, tell me about it later. But thank you, Patreons. And if you watch this later on Carcino for Life, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell so you can be notified every time we go live. Thank you and God bless.